The Pittsburgh Penguins got a lot of work done already to this point, re-signing Brian Rust, which had you asked me, and I think Tyler did at some point on the DFO rundown, to rank the three players, the three key free agents for the Pittsburgh Penguins in order of most likely to least likely re-sign in Pittsburgh. And I initially answered Chris Letang 1, Evgeny Malkin 2, Brian Rust 3. There just seemed to be very little dialogue and a standstill that existed between the Penguins and Rust all season long. He spoke, and you mentioned wax poetically. He did that at his end of season press conference, saying how much he wanted to remain in Pittsburgh. And I think that happened pretty quickly, saying, oh, yeah, you want to stay? Show us. And that's exactly what they were able to get done. A new deal for Brian Rust with a $5.1 million cap hit that really fits nicely into a team, Mike, that certainly needs a player like Rust and needs to keep him, but has really big decisions looming for some older guys in Evgeny Malkin, 35, Chris Letang, also turning 36, that are big parts of their team. How do they find a way to make this complex puzzle fit?
That's the $1 million question, probably the 80-something million dollar question when you look at the cap. And Ron Hextall and Brian Burke have both intimated that they'd like to have some cap flexibility. Well, how do you do that if you're going to bring back Letang and Malkin? Those are the decisions to be made. Frank, I look at that mixture and I think the Penguins just simply can't afford to lose Chris Letang. I don't think they can. How do you replace 68 points on the back end, your quarterback on the power play? I mean, I love the strides Mike Matheson has taken, but I don't see a replacement there. And, Malkin to me is, obviously it's another tough one. This is your 1 and 2 centermen. Well, where are the Penguins at with their finances? Do they want to allow some young players to take the reins? Do they want to have Jeff Carter play an expanded role? They do have several intriguing centers under contract that are making the jump to pro this year in Fraska, Sveikovsky. They're down there. So I'm not sure how Pittsburgh makes this work, if they make it work. I think they have to keep Letang. I think they'd like to keep Malkin, but if Malkin's not going to come back for the dollar figure, it might finally be time. And they still need another goaltender. Who knows who they're going to pair with Tristan Jarry. I don't think it'll be a big cap hit, but I think making the right decision on a goaltender is really important, as we saw towards playoffs this year, where injuries came into the mix for the Penguins.
Yeah, that's going to be huge. A couple other ways to create some of that cap flexibility. Trade Kasperi Kapanen would be one. How do you replace the 40-some points that he's going to score next year? That's another question. His qualifying offer is cheap, but his arbitration number is probably somewhere in the 4 or 5 range. That also is just another tough ticket to fit in. So you could trade Kasperi Kapanen, and another guy that debuted on our trade targets board on Thursday was John Marino in the number 12 spot. The Penguins had gotten some calls on Marino last year at the deadline. They were too focused on trying to win to really consider them. The defenseman that they'd really like to move is Marcus Pettersson. There are no takers to this point on Pettersson in that contract. So with Marino and the years that he has remaining on that deal, that's one player that I think they may have to explore trading to help try and create some of that cap flexibility if Letang is back and if Evgeny Malkin is back. The money has to come from somewhere, and Marino might end up being one of those guys in addition to Kapanen.